George Woods Jr. in the Tide is hoping to overcome the problems of last year and take a victory on the Ohio River. But Dave Vilwalk in the Circus is hoping he can tame the river and take the Indiana Governor's Cup for his own. ESPN presents the RC Cola 1993 Unlimited Hydroplane Series. The fifth stop of this series, the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup. Sponsored by RC Cola. Race to the taste of RC Cola. Me and my RC. By O'Doul's. It's what beer drinkers drink when they're not drinking beer. And by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that smooth taste. Proud to be your Bud.
The peaceful town of Madison, Indiana, 13,000 strong, swells to over 100,000 here on the banks of the Ohio River every year at Madison Regatta time. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hendrick, along with Dick Crippen. And Dick, with the longer shoots for this week, at tighter turns, it could be exciting.
Yeah, it could be. We had tight turns down in Miami, as you'll remember, Jim, and we had an accident down there. Fortunately, all the boats came through it okay, but Bud Red has been really the talk of the circuit so far. This would be their fourth straight win if they could win here today. This is a boat that went out and set records at just about every course we've been to. It did it again here this week, so we're going to watch closely, but they haven't said that that's the one. They've qualified both the red boat and the blue, so we'll have to wait until race time to see which one they go with.
They're going to go with the red boat, Dick. That's the one that wins the Winston Select Lap Award for this week as top qualifier at a world record speed for a 2.5-mile course at 166.852. Now, drivers of these unlimited hydroplanes remember a certain course for a certain incident. George Woods Jr. of the Tide is no different.
Madison, Indiana holds some very special memories for one George Woods, and I remember last year, George.
Oh, I definitely remember falling in the hole over here out of the first turn and hydraulic in the right sponson, and we spread pieces of the Tide race boat all the way down the back straightaway until it almost sank.
George, the whole situation turned around, and it turned out to be a positive. You put the new sponson on, and you liked it.
You bet. It was one of those deals that you look at and you go, oh. And you go to the next race with a new sponson on, and the boat just turned in and just changed the whole boat. So this winter, we put a new left one on, too. So we come here, we got a whole brand new boat with new sponsons on it. Dang it, we're going to finish this final heat all in one piece.
One guy who comes in with no problems at all from last year, that's Bernie Little, the owner of the Miss Budweiser, who owns the defending champion boat.
This is stop number 5 of the RC Cola Hydroplane Series, the midway point, if you will, of the whole shebang of 10 races. And Bernie Little, you've had things pretty much your own way the first half.
Well, to a certain degree, Jim, we have. When we didn't win the first event, that sure killed all of the promises I might have of winning them all. But anyhow, the crew's doing an outstanding job, and Chip is driving real well, as we expect him to and as he does. And then after he ran that 166.7 mile an hour lap on Friday and set the new world record, we really feel that Miss Budweiser's up to a victory here.
No news at all to anyone about the major storms that have been hitting in the Midwest, and it's no exception here on the Ohio River. Look at some of the debris that has been floating past the pit area. Believe it or not, a refrigerator floating by us in the pit area in Madison, Indiana. Now, everybody has been concerned about the storms, and everybody has been taking the precautions. It looks like we're going to get our race day in. These shots indicate that everybody's going to keep their eyes to the sky for more rain. We are still clearing out the river of some debris. We've got some helicopters and whatever watching upriver for anything coming down.
Albi's American Eagle, Mitch Evans, will ride in lane number 2 for the starts. In lane 3 will be the Tide with George Woods Jr. Mark Evans will be driving American Spirit. That's Fred Leland's boat. And the backup boat T-Plus with Steve David. And a trailer boat will be the Miss DOC AccuView with Ken Muscatel. Long shoots, tight turns, leave lane 1 vacant for safety, and here they come for the flag.
There is the green flag as we start our first heat here on the Ohio River in Madison, Indiana. On the inside, Albi's American Eagle, but it looks like it's going to be lane 3, the Tide boat trying to take the lead. Far outside, the T-Plus backup boat is trying to take the lead in the turn. He's not going to be able to do it. American Spirit comes up, takes the lead momentarily, but it's the Tide boat on the inside that has the momentary lead. Here comes American Spirit again.
As we look from our camera at the starting line, we pick up George Woods in the Tide. Now you can see where these boats are going to get the long chutes. This is one of the longer courses as they go under the Ohio River Bridge. And we've had problems in this long chute. They're going to have to keep them flying, Dick. There it is, right under the bridge, and instantly they're going to hang it on the hook. You'll see that second rooster tail come up right there. He's making his turn.
And a lot of times a bridge will cause all sorts of different wind currents on the river. The drivers have to be constantly attuned to those currents. Riding in second place right now, the boat with the red, white, and blue, the stars and stripes. It's the American Spirit, Mark Evans. You can see there's about 4 boat lengths between him and the leader, the Tide boat to the right of your screen.
135.956 mile an hour for our lead boat. About a mile and a half faster than our second place boat, which is Mark Evans and American Spirit. As we go back to our leader now, down the back chute, and as they come over, there's a sunken sandbar that creates a current on corner number 2, leading into this back chute, and it's a very, very dangerous turn on the course.
That's where the Tide last year had all the problems. They're second place, still riding hard. Mark Evans and the American Spirit. Turn number 2 is coming up for the Tide boat. George Woods Jr., he has been able to tame it so far. We'll see if he can do it in the last lap. Riding in third is the T+. Second place again, and still charging. Mark Evans is not giving any room at all as far as the distance between the 2 boats. He's keeping a very solid run.
Little faster on lane number 2 for the Tide at 136.468.
Mitch Evans, the brother of Mark Evans, riding in Alvey's American Eagle. He is back in 4th place. We are coming up on the final lap now for the Tide boat. George Woods Jr., remember, this is the boat that last year literally tore apart on the course. This time he finishes whole, united. The boat is all together. George Woods Jr. coming down for the checkered flag. Winner of Heat 1A on the Ohio River, and starting out the day in Madison, Indiana.
And we have a battle for second place going on. As look at the left, the tail's gone. Mark Evans lost the tail of the American Spirit, and it'll be the T+ coming on to take second place. We've had lots of excitement, and we'll have more after this timeout.
Back here on the Ohio River, we've already had some wild action with the T+ coming up with just feet remaining to the finish line. Managed to get inside of the American Spirit that was ripping apart on the course. Tide boat, of course, coming in first. T+ takes second.
Well, George, that looked like a pretty tight course.
Oh, definitely was. I'll tell you. Wow, I'm just winded. The Tide boat ran perfect out there. I have no complaints with it, but the water conditions were definitely rough.
Seems like you were a little looser than usual.
Yes, we even took some of the reaction out of the boat to get it a little bit calmer, and it's still rough out there. I'll tell you, it was a rough race there with, you know, the American Spirit was right on our tail the whole time.
Let's find out now what happened down there in the American Spirit camp. Let's find out from Dick Crippen. Dick?
Mark, turn number 1, Madison, Indiana. Welcome aboard.
Welcome to Madison, that's for sure. Turn 1. But I got inside George up on 3 and 4, and that's probably a crazy move on my part, but I wanted to sneak up on it as best I could, and couldn't gate enough boat lengths down here to get into the overlap rule. George did his thing, came across, and it was a little rough in that turn. I ended up hooking it, so that was my fault.
Fans on both sides of the Ohio, the Indiana side and the Kentucky side, seeking shade but enjoying some hot racing. Now, Heat 1B, it'll be the Miss Budweiser, Chip Hanauer, looking for his 4th consecutive victory. Winston Eagle will provide the opposition with Mark Tate from Detroit at the wheel. Dave Bilwach driving Miss Circus. The Kellogg's is the hometown boat. Mike Hansen, the driver. Miss Rock with Mark Evans fills the field, the boat owned by Fred Leland.
It looks like it's going to be clean for the start. The referee's looking it over from high atop the course. There you get the same view he's getting as they come down underneath the bridge. We're at the start line, the green flag, and they are off. Right away, it is the Miss Budweiser trying to set the pace. Now, Budweiser is in lane number 2. Remember, we're keeping lane 1 clear for safety reasons on the course. It looked like a little bit of a fight for some of the boats to get through that first turn. They are through clean, and on the back stretch, it is the Miss Budweiser setting the pace. Chip Hanauer knows this river well. Remember, he is the defending champion. Boy, oh boy, did you see him get airborne. We talk about the currents in the river. river, which you know when you've got flood conditions in the Midwest, you're going to have strong currents. There you see the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes also getting a little flighty. But you also have to be concerned now with the bridge and the wind currents. In turn number 3, Miss Budweiser handles beautifully.
As we look at our lead boat, 138.053 mile an hour. Remember, these are 3-lap sprints. The final field will have to race 5 times around this 2.5-mile course.
Jim, as we look behind the leader, we can see that Kellogg's Frosted Flakes has now taken second place away from the Winston Eagle. And back in 4th place, it is the Miss Circus Dave Billwatt, the boat out of Las Vegas, Nevada. There you see the margin between the boats. Sometimes when we get down on the surface of the water, they look a lot closer than they are, but it's quite a battle now. 3rd place is the Winston Eagle, which is inside on the turn. The pink and white boat on the outside is Circus. That boat now riding in 4th place.
Winston Eagle in tight, trying to catch the Kellogg's for 2nd place. Changing lanes through the wake on the outside is the Circus. We've got a battle bunched up to try to catch this boat, Mike Hansen and the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
He is riding in 2nd place and going under the bridge in the lead right now. And in turn number 3 is the red and white Budweiser boat. Miss Budweiser, Chip Hanauer, looking for his 4th straight win on the RC Cola Unlimited Hydroplane Series, looking now at the checkered flag in Heat 1A.
And they'll get points and a leg up on that O'Doul's High Point Championship. And remember, top 3 boats of the year at our last race in Honolulu will race in an O'Doul's shootout. Budweiser first, Kellogg second, followed by the Winston and the Circus. Miss Rock did not start. Let's go down to the winner's dock.
Chip, boy, I'll tell you what, that first turn out there, I was kind of wondering what was going to happen. It's very rough, very rough. Some of the worst conditions I've seen all year and maybe in the last couple of years.
As far as the rest of it, though, once you kicked out of that turn, you took a couple of little bounces in the first lap. From there on, it was smooth sailing.
Well, I think once we got a lead, it was pretty hard for anybody to mount much of a charge because of the rough water. I mean, I had a lot of pedal left, and I know they did too. I just couldn't find a place to use the power that we had. I just couldn't get the boat hooked up.
Well, Bernie, the boat obviously is well put together. It took the bounces with no damage.
Yeah, no damage, thank the Lord, because it was really tough out there. I was proud of the Miss Madison. They ran really good. And but all the boats had a bad time, and nobody could really mount any effort.
Miss Madison being Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. As we look at the crowd, they were pleased with that 2nd place finish. Dick Tripp is with Mike Hansen.
Well, after that race, they're going to be saying, you should have heard the crowd, Mike Hansen. They were going nuts.
Yeah, when Charlie would hit the key on the mic to talk to me in the boat, I'd hear the crowd in the background. I could hear Charlie talking about, hear the crowd every time I went by the start-finish line. So they obviously were yelling.
And you had a good run. I mean, you were giving them something to cheer about.
Yeah, well, we had to do well, Matt. We got a real tough draw. Winston and Circus, it ain't often you go out and beat them up there. So we're real pleased. Gets sitting a little bit better for the final.
More action coming up on the RC Cola Hydroplane Series 93. This, the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup. We'll be right back. The RC Cola Hydroplane Series could not be staged without the fine assistance and help from the United States Coast Guard.
I think a lot of people have to remember that while we're racing on the Ohio River, this is actually a working river here in the Midwest. Therefore, Chief McNutt, you've got quite a job today, and that's coordinating the traffic on the river.
Yes, we do. Every morning, right before the event starts, we shut the river down. We have commercial towing vessels that we hold up. We set an upper and a lower picket line. Once we set these picket lines up, the river is closed to all traffic, recreational and commercial, for up to 3 hours. At that point, we open it up for 1 hour to let them through.
We certainly, from the Regatta Committee, appreciate everything that's done because it helps everything run smoothly, and we hope for you too.
Well, thanks. We're trying to keep it smooth and keep it going, keep the river closed for the hydros.
Here's the way they drew for Heat 2A of the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup here today. The tied with George Woods, looking for his 2nd consecutive win, but the Circus, the Winston Eagle, American Spirit, and Albie's American Eagle are going to make it a little tight.
As they come down the river now, we get the green flag and they're off. It's a good start. The start of Heat 2A. Your inside boat is the Tide. See if George Woods Jr. can make it 2 wins in a row in these heat races. Right next to him, the American Spirit is issuing a challenge, but outside in lane number 5, the U10 Winston Eagle. Mark Tate has served notice. He is coming on in this race. Let's see if he can do it. He can just barely see him on the screen. There you see him taking over 2nd place. from the American Spirit on the back straight. Those three boats are going to even up.
As they approach corner number 3, just under the bridge, it's going to be a real battle now for first place. Watch them. Inside is the Tide with a slight lead because it's the shorter way around the course. His skid fin rooster tail comes up first. But as they come around, there is the Winston Eagle squirting out. And on the inside, right in the middle, without his tail, by the way, he is riding without his stabilizer, is the American Spirit with Mark Evans.
The battle is up front. On the inside, to the right of your screen, the orange boat is the Tide. There you see a great aerial shot looking down the course from high atop the course. The battle between the Tide boat, and on the outside, it is the Winston Eagle. Mark Tate just looking for that extra speed as he comes out of the turn. Let's see if he can even it up on the back stretch. That's the telltale. If he can get the speed from his turbine engine on the back stretch, he may have a shot at taking over first place. He's got to beat the Tide boat. George Woods Jr. Remember, this is the boat that had such bad luck last year. Already he's had good luck this year, even though the river is not cooperating with him. Wait a minute, there goes the Winston Eagle. The Winston Eagle pulls by momentarily, but again, George Woods Jr. handling exceptionally well on the inside of the course, manages to take the nose lead in front of him. Now there's only about a boat length between these two as they come down the front straightaway.
And less than a mile an hour difference as the lead has changed hands 4 times. Here at the end of lap 2, it's the Winston Eagle going out in front. Our third place boat is this, the American Spirit, minus his tail and his wing.
He's got to be having a little bit of a handling problem with that boat without that stabilizer wing in there this time around. We'll talk to him maybe later on in the show to find out if there are some different handling characteristics. No problem with the Winston Eagle this time. Remember in Heat 1A, he did have some problems. There's Albie's American Eagle rounding out the field in 4th place. Mitch Evans. Still the lead, though, is up for grabs. It looked like the Tide boat took a good bounce as he came under the bridge. Now the battle is really going to be a drag race to the finish. Winston Eagle on the outside. On the inside, George Woods Jr. and the Tide boat. They are both trying to find that power as they come down almost neck and neck, deck to deck. There goes the checkered flag. It is going to be the Winston Eagle on the outside. Mark Tate takes the win.
Great racing as the Winston Eagle edges out the Tide, who finishes second, followed by the American Spirit, American Eagle.
Well, Mark, I saw a guy out there who was weighing out all the options, taking his time, looking at the other boat, and when the time was right, he struck.
Well, you know, the water conditions are really funny out there today, and we made some major changes from the first heat on the Winston Eagle to this heat, and it definitely performed better. Now, if we can tune her in a little more for the next heat, maybe we'll have a better shot come into the day.
Yeah, she seemed to ride a lot better in this heat.
A lot better. Actually could race the boat this heat, where the first heat was just kind of survival.
Yeah, Steve, I'd have to say the first heat, the owner stands with crossed fingers, hoping the boat comes back in one piece.
Yeah, well, I knew the boat couldn't be hurt. It was never in the water in the first heat. So. No, the crew made some great changes, and we have a tremendous crew with the Winston Eagle. And they got the boat turned around real quick. Short turnaround time, but they did the job, and Mark brought us home a winner.
And the boats are getting ready now for Heat 2B here in the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup. Great crowd and great racing here in Madison.
When you're watching the unlimited hydroplanes on the water, you see the big wings on the back of the boat. It's a little bit hard to know how big those wings are because the boats themselves are right around 30 feet. So I thought I'd give you an idea. I'm 5'10 and a half. You can see this wing is just about my height. As far as the width for the horizontal stabilizer, well, let's measure it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's roughly 8 feet across the top of those wings. That's a lot of air, and it serves to stabilize the Unlimited.
The Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup, Stop 5 in the RC Cola Hydroplane Series continues in just a moment. Jim Hendrick along with Dick Crippen as we get set to go in Heat 2B here today on the Ohio River in Madison as we look at some of our spectator boats here on the course.
George Woods is a racer on Sundays, but George, actually, you're involved in it all week long. You've got a daughter that's involved in racing?
Yeah, my daughter runs a drag car back in Seattle. We're out here on the road racing boats, and she's home racing cars.
What kind of advice did Dad give to daughter when she first got into this?
think we ought to go with a little bit of humility and go out there and do the best you can, and don't worry about losing, because you're going to lose a lot of races before you win your first one, and she's taken it very, very well. Since she's grown up, we've always had high-performance street cars. It's something that I did as a kid, was a drag racer, and I love it. It's great to have a daughter that's out there racing, and she's racing with the pros and doing very, very well.
Here's a little look at what our crews do in their spare time. Yesterday, they were trying some pinpoint passing through the stacks of the Winston Eagle. That reminds us, ESPN's football season is just around the corner.
I'll tell you, they do have some fun. They all get together along. They're fierce competitors on the course, but friends in the pits. Here's your lineup for Heat 2B, the Miss Budweiser, the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, Miss T Plus, and the trailer boat, Miss Rock. Now, we see only 3 boats out there. It looks like the trailer boat, Miss Rock, did not get started.
And all 3 turbines are side by side, Dick, trying to get points towards that O'Doul's High Point Championship.
That's one of the best starts we've seen for a while. 3 boats side by side. Now, for this race, they left the first 2 lanes open. So actually, the Miss Budweiser is now taking the lead out of lane number 3. There you see the Miss Budweiser taking the lead. It's going to be Kellogg's Frosted Flakes in second as they hit the back stretch. And back in third will be Steve David in the Miss T Plus.
And the T Plus running the backup boat once again. After having problems the last race in Evansville when the sponsons let go, it'll be repaired in time for our next race in Kansas City.
Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, of course, owned by the citizens of Madison, Indiana, where we're racing today. 13,000 of them have an investment in that boat. It is now riding second to this boat, the Miss Budweiser. Chip Hanauer, who so far has had a perfect day. He wants to keep that intact. If he goes to the championship of this event, then he will take his 4th straight win on the RC Cola Unlimited Hydroplane Series. The T Plus boat riding back in 3rd place. Steve David out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This boat continues to be worked on, and it continues to improve.
And of course, it is the backup boat. The #1 boat hurt last week at Evansville, Indiana. Miss Rock is a brand new boat. Did not compete in this heat. Mark Evans is going to try to do double duty by driving his own American Spirit and the new Miss Rock for Fred Leland, while the rookie driver Ken Dryden gets enough time to sit the seat by Tri-Cities.
And there we have a checkered flag flying high for Chip Hanauer, who keeps that perfect record intact for this event. The Miss Budweiser takes the win. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes second. Miss T Plus third, and the Miss Rock did not start.
Chip, one thing I'm going to ask you. Can you see Bernie waving his arms to slow you down?
Absolutely. Not only can I see him, I can hear him all the time, and the man doesn't even have a radio. How is that?
I don't know, but I see him flapping his arms like an eagle.
Well, Jim, when I seen that far out in front, you know, I like to have him take it as easy as he can, and but the water was a little bit improved, and so he was running 150-mile-an-hour laps out there, and that's awful good for that water.
Let's talk a little bit more about unlimited hydroplane racing, a little inside knowledge. This is the T Plus Performance Corner with T Plus driver Steve David.
Hi, this week's T Plus Performance Corner is with Mike Hansen, driver of the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Mike will be talking about rudders and skid pins.
Hello, I'm going to take you through the underwater world of the steering apparatus of the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes Unlimited Hydroplane. This piece of steel here is what's called the rudder. This is what actually turns the boat, directly attached through some cables and gears and linkages to the steering wheel that I turn in the cockpit. It's basically about 24 inches long. This is a billet piece of stainless steel that was all welded to a post up here and carved down to a blade. Rudders are extremely important. A little minute movement on this leading edge, moving it forward and back, makes a big difference as far as how the boat will enter and come out of the turn. They're relatively thin for a 200-mile-an-hour boat. It's being only about 3/4 of an inch thick here, and at 200 miles an hour, you basically only have this much rudder underwater. This is a skid fin. This is the second part of turning an unlimited hydroplane. Without this, the boats would tend to slide quite a ways through the turn. What the boat will do now is it'll pivot off this skid fin, throwing up a tremendous amount of water, which is the second tail that you see as the boats go through the turn. It takes about 160,000 psi per square inch of pressure. So it's got to be extremely strong, because if it comes off, it'll ruin your day.
Well, we hope to make your day with the RC Cola Unlimited Hydroplane Series from Madison, Indiana, the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup, when we return in just a moment.
Jim Hendrick back here at Madison, Indiana. for the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup. My partner, Dick Trippin, I think, is taking a little break somewhere.
We're at the halfway point of our season. Welcome to Madison, Indiana. Mid-America. We've come here for a birthday celebration, the July 4th, and it's kind of nice. You know, we've been down to Lake Louisville outside of Dallas, Texas. We've been in Detroit, a big, big city. Miami, another big city. Evansville, Indiana, a city in the Midwest. And now, Madison, Indiana.
We take a little pause from the fast pace this 4th of July here in the heartland of the USA, Madison, Indiana. Expressways, glass, and steel have given way to the farmlands and the beauty of the countryside. Here in Madison, Indiana, a lot of the history of this city is reflected in Main Street. I guess it could be Main Street, USA. Lots of neat shops, hometown folks doing hometown things. It's kind of a friendly atmosphere of what America is all about. This community of 13,000 is hosting its 43rd annual unlimited hydroplane race, and they'll host nearly 100,000 fans this weekend for the race and more.
These 100,000 or so fans have come here to Madison, Indiana, Heartland, USA, if you will, to celebrate our 217th birthday. Happy birthday, America.
You know, boat racing has gotten a lot of safety-conscious ideas like the canopy. There's one feature that you might not know about, as explained by Circus crew chief Dan Walters.
If the boat happens to go upside down, the divers would come to this part of the boat, which is where the escape hatch is. The reason for the window is when the boat's upside down, it's dark inside the cockpit with all the water in there, and the driver has a reference of which way to get out. The divers would push this knob here, turn the handle, and out he comes.
Well, we're getting set for Heat 3A, and we've got the Miss Budweiser and the Winston Eagle going head-to-head right away, along with the T+, the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, the hometown boat, and Alvy's American Eagle.
We look to the course, and again, we have a very good lineup for the start, and there's the green flag right off the bat. It's going to be a battle with the Miss Budweiser taking the lead momentarily. The Kellogg's Frosted Flakes on the outside, and lane number 5 is trying to catch him. There goes the Winston Eagle breaking free of the pack as they head down into turn number 1. Let's see how they come out. It looks like the Budweiser is going to have the advantage. Miss Budweiser is sitting in lane number 3. Miss T+ on the inside. Winston Eagle right on the outside. Look at that lineup on the back stretch. We have 3 boats now. 2 of them break away. The 2 outside boats. It looks like Winston Eagle, Mark Tate, has found some extra power. He is challenging now and taking the lead. Let's see if he can hold on to it.
Oh, they pick up that speed down that straightaway. Now they'll have to set up at corner number 3. Watch for that second rooster tail. There it is. That signifies to the fans on shore they are in that turn.
The inside boat now taking a slight advantage, but again, Mark Tate comes up and just noses out Miss Budweiser. Here comes Chip Hanauer one more time. Can he hold it down the front straightaway at the end of lap number 1? It looks like Winston Eagle will go down as the leader for lap number 1 as they now head down into turn number 1. Winston Eagle will try to hold it on the outside. These drivers doing a great job out here on this course. A little rough in turn 2, and look at the Miss Budweiser. Miss Budweiser got roughed up just a little bit, had to get off it a little, and Winston Eagle stayed strong. Mark Tate again trying to take the lead.
A lane change penalty has been called by the officials here on the Miss Budweiser. He'll get, Chip Hanauer will get an extra lap, so that battle you're seeing right now is for naught.
The Budweiser moves back to last place on this, although if you notice he is testing the Winston Eagle. He's got to find out for the championship heat, assuming these 2 boats go head-to-head in that heat, exactly what the Winston Eagle has. So Chip Hanauer is not backing off at all. The Winston Eagle is staying strong.
Budweiser will now try that inside lane. Winston Eagle driver Mark Tate will try to pinch him, not give him anything but what he deserves. He'll try to hold him tight. That's part of racing strategy.
Winston Eagle driven by Mark Tate out of the Detroit, Michigan area. He has had some rough starts for the season, but he is certainly smoothing it out here in Madison, Indiana. Second place now is the hometown boat, the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, driven by Mike Hansen, who also lives here in Madison, Indiana. There's your 3rd place boat out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Steve David, the driver. The Miss T+, the name of the boat. The boat itself is based out of Seattle, Washington. And again, the Madison boat seems to be performing well. Each time they put it in the water, it gets a little bit better. There's the only piston boat in the entire field, Mitch Evans in Albie's American Eagle.
Here comes your leader for the checkered flag off of corner number 4. Down into the bridge, it'll be 400 points for the Winston Eagle here in Heat 3A.
So Winston Eagle takes another win as we go down to the championship round here at Madison, Indiana. Hey, smile! You're on Candid Camera. We'll be right back. Back in Madison, Indiana, Dick Crippen along with Jim Hendrick as we look out on a calmer Ohio River than we have seen for the past couple of days. Here are the results of Heat 3A. Winston Eagle, the winner. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes second. Then the Miss T Plus and American Eagle. Miss Budweiser in 5th.
Boy, sounds like somebody's serving notice. That's a big improvement since the first heat.
Yeah, you know, we keep fine-tuning the boat each heat, and we're getting a little better, and all the credit really goes to my team. The Winston Eagle team's just done a great job all day since the first heat.
Help make you feel a little better the way the boat's performing, Steve?
Oh, the boat's performing beautifully. The Winston Eagle team has done a tremendous job, and what can you say about Mark? He's the best there is.
Well, a guy that's trying to figure out exactly what happened with that penalty is Chip Hanauer. Let's go down to Jim Hendrick, who's standing by with him now.
Down here with Chip Hanauer. And Chip, what happened out there?
Well, I'm not even sure. I'm not sure where they've called me, but I thought I was clean, and apparently they didn't.
There's something about the overlap on T+.
I don't know, you know, like I said, which corner they're calling on, so I can't comment until I know exactly, you know, where and when they called it.
Does this change your strategy for the final heat?
Well, it does. We lost our lane pick, so we're going to have to take what's left, and that's going to be difficult.
So you really have to psych yourself up for whatever lane's left over for you to get.
That's it. Whatever is left, take it and do the best we can with it.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup for Heat 3B. The Tide boat will be in lane number 2, American Spirit, in lane 3. The Miss Circus lane 4, and on the trailer boat, it'll be the Miss Rock. But, Jim, we look on the field as we get to start the Heat 3B. We've got a drag race, only 2 boats.
The last Heat Circus, with a miscommunication on the start time, we're making adjustments to the new hall that has just returned from Seattle, and they missed the starting gun. So now, perhaps they're going to sit out knowing they have to win the last chance heat to advance to the final.
And obviously they've got more engine problems with the Miss Rock boat. It did not make the field again for the second time today. Here is the lead boat. This is the Tide, George Woods Jr. He's battling Mark Evans, who's on the outside of him in the American Spirit. George Woods Jr.'s already got 1 win under his belt in the heat races here today. He's got his championship points in line. He'd like to just go ahead and assure everything for the championship heat. Meanwhile, American Spirit, who has since the first heat been running without a tailpiece, is riding in a very solid second place, and the boat actually looks like it's performing very well without that tail.
Dick, the reason the Miss Rock, the new turbine, is not in competition, Mark Evans volunteered to drive both boats today because rookie Ken Dryden has not qualified as a driver, but both boats drew each other in this heat. So Mark Evans took his own boat, American Spirit, into competition.
Well, that's the sure one as the checkered flag goes out to the Tide boat, George Woods Jr. He takes another win on the day, and we'll be back to talk with him and get ready for our championship round when we come back in just a moment.
Welcome back to Mid-America, Madison, Indiana, the scene of the Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup. I'm Jim Hendrick along with Dick Crippen. Let's take a look at the points gathered towards the O'Doul High Point Championship. The Tide wins, American Spirit second, and as we said, Circus and Miss Rock did not start.
Well, we have a first. First time this year, guess who gets lane choice?
It's awesome. I like it. Be one of the first times, as you said, all year long that the Tide gets to choose the first lane, and we're going to do proud.
A lot of people think, well, you know, maybe an easy win, maybe not much of a race, but it's a good opportunity for you, knowing the position you're in now, to really find out what this water has for you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I say, yeah, it's an easy race. It's never an easy race out here. I don't care if you're all by yourself. The river is tough all on its own, but get out there. We got to test our equipment. Mark gave us a little push there for a lap and then kind of backpedal, and I was busy doing some other things inside the boat, and we're going to get ready for the final heat because that's where it's all at.
Crowd enjoying the action. Now let's go down to the 5th with Dick Crippen and find out just why the Circus did not appear last heat.
Dave, you weren't in the last heat when you were invited out there, but I noticed you're getting ready.
Yeah, we're getting ready. The boat was heavily damaged in the first heat, and there wasn't enough time to get it put back together for the next heat. That put us in a point situation, so we're going to have to run the last chance to get Miss Circus Circus into the final.
One of the most emotional Gold Cups ever held in the history of unlimited hydroplane racing was the 71 Gold Cup, where the hometown team, Miss Madison, won it.
This is a boat with a lot of memories. You're looking at the cockpit of the 1971 Gold Cup winner. It's named Miss Madison. It's a boat owned by the people of Madison, Indiana. The driver of this boat's still living right downriver at Owensboro, Kentucky. His name is Jim McCormick. This boat points up a lot of the changes in unlimited hydroplane racing. The cockpit sits behind the big aircraft engine. You know, we only have one boat running with an aircraft engine on the circuit this year, that one with Mitch Evans aboard. But that was a lot of exhaust, a lot of noise. They had to wear earplugs and all sorts of things. A lot of memories in these boats. And the folks of Madison, Indiana would like to bring back those memories. So they're trying to bring back this very boat. They're collecting the money, and they hope to make it usable back on the water again. And then they're hoping that some folks around the country will maybe get the fire, and they'll put some other boats together. And who knows, maybe someday a Legends Tour of unlimited hydroplane racing. It could happen, and now you know where it started.
This race marks the halfway point of the R.C. Cola Hydroplane Series 1993. How about the drivers? How do they feel about the first half? What do they hope to attain in the second half of the year?
Handling for the first part of this season has been awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of been the thrill of victory, agony of defeat.
I think in many ways we're where we expected to be. We've won some races. We've got a good point lead.
First half of the season, the Winston Eagle weather wasn't consistent.
Well, we're trying to develop a new race boat.
We're in the top 3 in points right now. The boat's running fast enough to win some boat races. We just need to have a couple breaks go our way, and we'll be right there. Yeah, we're real happy with the way we're progressing. Actually didn't think we were going to really progress this much.
We had a lot of high expectations. We took the boat all apart. We lightened it. Ed did a lot of work on the motors this winter. And then we went to Dallas, and boy, we couldn't make anything work.
You know, here the second half of the season, we got to pick up our consistency, make sure that we don't make any mistakes as a team or as an individual, myself behind a steering wheel, and we got to pick up some points.
What we want to do now is just keep our heads down, keep doing what got us here, and go to the end of the season. We have to be 10 or 15 miles an hour faster in the western swing in order to compete, even in order to qualify, and that's where we're going to be.
We look forward to the balance of the season because the new boat will be dialed in consistently, and then I think we'll get back to winning consistently like we did the first race.
So the second half of the season, we're looking for some of that 200-mile-an-hour plus straightaway stuff, and we're going to have it.
Well, we'll see if they're going to have it as we continue here on ESPN with the second half of the unlimited hydroplane season. We get ready now for the last chance race here in Madison, Indiana. Lane 2 will be the Miss T+, Albie's American Eagle in Lane 3, and the Miss Circus Circus in Lane 4. And as they come down, 3 boats side by side. Albie's American Eagle drops back just a little bit. There's the green flag. We have basically a 2-boat race out in front. There you see Albie's dropping back in third. T+ on the inside, Circus Circus on the outside as they head down to the first turn.
And only one of these boats, either the T+ or the Circus Circus, will qualify as the second trailer in the winner-take-all final.
Circus Circus trying to find that extra speed on the outside. You'll remember that they took a little bit of a chance. They knew the last chance race was coming up. They knew they had a shot at it. They decided to ride on their points to get into the last chance to then try to qualify for the championship rather than going for the points earlier today. But they've got a battle on their hands. The pink and white boat is leading right now. Dave Bilwak driving that boat. But on the inside, yellow and black, it's the Miss T+ as the rooster tails off the skid fins, grab the water, and off they go. Around the turn, it is still Circus Circus in the lead. Right now, Dave Bilwak looks up to the starter's tower. He sees the checkered flag. Dave Bilwak in the Miss Circus Circus. The gamble paid off. He has made the championship field as the second trailer boat. We'll be back with the championship heat and more from Madison, Indiana in just a moment. Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup, Madison, Indiana, the Ohio River. Dick Griffin along with Jim Hendrick as we get ready for our championship race of the day. This is the big one. This is where everybody has been aiming.
Dick, by virtue of his performance today earlier, George Woods Jr., the Tide, got first lane choice. Lane 1 is empty. He took lane 2. This Budweiser had the last choice of the day. He is in lane number 3. Winston Eagle is also in the middle of the pack of this fast field in lane 4, and on the outside, Kellogg's with Mike Hansen, and we have 2 trailers. America's Spirit with Mark Evans, and by virtue of the last chance win, Circus Circus with Dave Bilwak.
Those turbine engines are humming now, high revs as we get the green flag, and we are off and running on the Ohio River. They are even coming down as we look from way, way atop the course. Here they come down, and the Miss Budweiser has already started to take lead. He is in lane number 3. The Tide boat is the inside boat. Right next to him on the outside, the Budweiser, that is the Winston Eagle. There you see Chip Hanauer. Wasted no time at all. Took advantage of the smoothness in the turns in this first lap to get out in front and lead the pack. So second place now is the Winston Eagle. This could be a good battle. Remember earlier, Winston Eagle was riding right up with the Miss Budweiser.
And Chip Hanauer close to 150-mile-an-hour lap with the Winston Eagle, not too far behind in slot 2 as they come down to complete lap number 1 of 5 here in the finale.
You've got to remember that the Miss Budweiser earlier today had a 5th place finish because of a penalty. Right now you can see Chip Hanauer concentrating on just keeping that boat aimed straight in his lane, and he's holding his lane beautifully as they go through the turns. Look how the boats rough up in corner number 2. That is really a rough corner. They have a lot of wave action coming back off the banks of the river, as well as that sandbar underneath that really gets them hot, flying high. The Winston Eagle got through the turn all right. Now second place on the back stretch. The Miss Budweiser is the lead boat. There's about a 5-boat length difference between the two. Circus looks like she may have had a little bit of a problem out there. Damage to that boat earlier. They got into the championship by virtue of the last chance heat.
As we look at Mark Tate, riding in second place from Detroit, Michigan. And the Tide currently riding in third with George Woods as they come down to complete lap number 2.
George Woods Jr. has had a very, very good day out there. I think he hoped to be a little bit more competitive in this final heat. We don't know exactly what the situation was that put him back into third place, but he's holding that and right now looking for any sort of an opening, as is Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, who's back in 4th place. Mike Hansen driving the hometown boat for the hometown fans here in Madison, Indiana. And they're watching the Budweiser out in front. Chip Hanauer, he has done a flawless job of handling this boat right from the start. When the green flag flew, he took the lead. He has not given it up, and neither has he been challenged. However, if there is a challenge to be had, more than likely, it will be this boat, the Winston Eagle, with Mark Tate.
Mark Tate won the 1991 Gold Cup, which was one of his biggest thrills in front of the hometown, over 500,000 fans in Detroit. Our leader, Chip Hanauer, has won an unprecedented 9 Gold Cups. That's an all-time record, and the owner, Bernie Little, likewise has 9 APBA Gold Cup championships.
We note that Mark Evans got the vertical stabilizer wings back onto the American Spirit. He had lost those wings earlier today. Here comes your winning boat around the corner for the last time here on the Ohio River in 1993. Chip Hanauer in the Miss Budweiser, taking his 4th consecutive win in the RC Cola Unlimited Hydroplane Series. This championship, a very special one. There you see the crew. They've got a right to celebrate. A great job of driving by Chip Hanauer. They bounced back from that 5th place finish. I don't think there's any question the crew is going to get a lot of credit for this one. They really kept that boat driving beautifully.
And here's the final order of finish for Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup 93. We're getting the report now. There's a problem with the winning boat, Miss Budweiser. They're saying that over 150 miles an hour, the bottom hatch, the escape hatch, came loose. Dick Griffin's down the dock with the crew chief, Ronnie Brown. Let's see if we can get a report on what's happened to the Miss Budweiser and the driver, Chip Hanauer.
Ronnie, what happened out there?
Well, it appears that the trap door beneath the driver's legs must have apparently come loose and shook loose in that rough water, and Chip radioed back that he's got some pain and injury, so he actually shut it off, didn't even come back to the dock. I suspect part of the door might have come up and hit him in the leg or something. So it was very rough out there. A fluke thing, it's really never happened before, but I suspect some rough water might have popped up and broke that door loose, or maybe even disintegrated the door.
Eric Steelau and our URC rescue crew has the driver, Chip Hanauer, in the boat with the flashing lights coming towards shore. Medical units are ready to examine him. Also out there in a rescue boat, but returned to shore now, is the owner, Bernie Little. Dick Griffin is with him now.
Well, this is certainly not the way to end the day, not a day when there's so much happiness to be had for the Miss Budweiser, Bernie.
Well, that's true. As you've probably seen, or the cameras probably picked up, the hatch on the bottom of the boat on the final turn flew open, and it took a wall of water into his chest and his stomach. And at the speeds he was running, that's a lot of power, a lot of pain. he just whispered in my ear. He says, I'm okay, I'm okay. I just got real hit hard with a wall of water.
We have a report that the driver, Chip Hanauer, will be able to talk to us. We'll have that interview after this timeout. Back here on the Ohio River in Madison, Indiana, Jim Hendrick along with Dick Griffin. Moments ago, the Miss Budweiser escape hatch blew open after the Bud crossed the finish line. You can see Winston owner Steve Woomer discussing it with owner of the Budweiser, Bernie Little. They console each other, but the driver seems to be okay. Patty Darling is our chief medical officer on the race site. We have fine medical personnel that travel with us all year long, and they coordinate efforts with the local doctors and nurses. After being checked out, Chip Hanauer looking none worse for the wear. He's been in more serious situations in the past. Last year in Seattle and San Diego, he went on his head a couple of times, broke some ribs, but he's a tough kid, a good competitor. Let's hear firsthand from Chip himself exactly what did happen.
Well, Chip, I am so happy to see you up here accepting this award.
Well, it was, you know, it happened after the race. We crossed the finish line, and I slowed down and went through the first corner, which is very rough, and the escape hatch, which we used to exit the boat if the boat were upside down, blew out, and I just took a shot of water to the groin. Reminded me of my soccer days. I used to have a lot of those.
But you're okay. You're up and around. You're walking. Everything's fine.
Yeah, I'm a little tender, and my left eye took a lot of water up inside my eye, but now I feel fine. I probably would have felt as good if it was a second place finish, but with a first place finish, I can take it.
Well, the best thing is that now you can enjoy the moment. For a few moments there, we wondered.
Yeah, I wasn't having much fun there for a few minutes, but I feel fine. A little tender, but I'm going to have fun tonight anyway.
Let's take a look at the O'Doul's High Point Championship standings midway through the RC Cola Hydroplane Series. Miss Budweiser leading, and a real jam-up between the Tide, Kellogg's, and Winston for second place. Top 3 point getters race in the O'Doul Shootout in October.
If you'd like more information about unlimited hydroplane racing, you can write the Unlimited Racing Commission at 414 Pontius Avenue North, Suite C, Seattle, Washington, or call the number on your screen.
5 down, 5 to go at the Unlimited Hydroplane Series by RC Cola. And I'll tell you what, this was exciting, especially with the PS that the Budweiser added when that hatch blew open.
Yeah, it's a scary moment because people don't realize when that blows open, the boat's going so fast, the water's coming in there at that speed. The impact that Chip took in the chest was scary, and as he said, he had a little bit of a problem with his eye, but everything appears to be okay. He's been through a lot of spills worse than this, but I was happy that he came out of it all right. He can celebrate with the guys now and enjoy his victory, but we're also happy for the Kellogg's. They did a great job today. Good run in front of the hometown audience. Tide had very good runs. There were some very good things to talk about in this regatta on some very rough water.
And that Winston Eagle team made such a vast improvement from heat number 1 to the final. They really got that boat running, and we'll have more from Kansas City on the next stop. Dick Griffin, I'm Jim Hendrick. So long.
The Budweiser Indiana Governor's Cup was sponsored by RC Cola. Race to the taste of RC Cola. Me and my RC. By T+, beat the daily grind. Use T+, the engine treatment with DuPont Teflon. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that smooth taste. Proud to be your Bud. This event is sanctioned by the American Powerboat Association. This has been a production of Diamond P Sports in association with ESPN.